Ah, a blissfully lazy Friday late morning sleep-in. One that I'm sure was much appreciated by our party to soak in before the start of their next gig. Just as a hot, spiced pot of tea and steamy breakfast biscuits was delivered by room service. Coming in behind the attendant was the sweet Tawidi the gnome, alongside, of course, our long-missed party member, Gribble the goblin.
Excuse me, that's dragon to you, sir. Learn to get your facts straight.
Oh, fuck me. God's favorite. Can yell at the narrator now? Please tell me there's an off button for that.
We'll consider filing a motion for better worldly boundaries with Milady Dea if you apologize and acknowledge the mistake you just made regarding the race of my young master.
Okay, fine. Sorry. Moving on with Gribble, the definitely not a goblin child and totally a dragon. Entering the scene with his friend, both of them were clearly exhausted as they collapsed limply on the furniture. The party rose with smiles, happy to have their little alchemist back, especially Lux.
I'm glad to see you both safe, but just where have you two been?
Missed you a lot, but I'll fill you in another time. We're both smoked.
Well, hopefully not too smoked, because now that you're back, we all gotta have a serious talk, folks.
Tarth said in a foreboding tone, as the party huddled for a long tale while Tarth expounded on his origins covered in the prophecy video. The party tensed up in contemplation of everything our druidic Harengon shared. Tawidi's eyes flitted side to side, trying to make sense of everything.
Conjoined twins at a future circus called Cirque du Sol have an intense stare-down with Gribble and I.
Tawidi twiddled her thumbs over the thought as Gribble punched up at the air feeling feisty.
Whatever. I'll just light the whole damn tent on fire, like we should have done with the evil stick lady back in the network.
Thotham leaned forward to impress a strong level of concern.
We need to be careful. We don't know what angering Baba Yaga might do to Tarth with that seed of hers burrowed deep in his chest,
he nervously said as his eyes veered toward Tarth, who instinctively reached up for the little vine. Or maybe more accurate to call it a vein, that which remained poking out of his chest cavity.
We can't forget what Mogroga told us. That thing isn't a seed but a creature. And that's just dealing with Baba Yaga, let alone whatever Zugg'Tmoy and the twisted Cordies have in store for us. Like my brain supposedly fusing with a fungal plant.
Also importantly, Yaga dying means all of her Hexen, like V, would die too. They're victims in all of this. Personally, I'd like to try and save them all if possible. So when it comes to Yaga, I think it's best for now that we don't play our cards open-handed here. Not like we remotely stand a chance against her anyway.
Lux tapped her foot on the floor rhythmically, feeling bothered by the entire ordeal, fixated a bit on the details of Acramon Diamante, who she still does not know how he is connected to her mother, nor has Lux revealed that connection to the party yet, keeping her secrets close.
Let's not get too ahead of ourselves here with all of this. We don't know how far in the future this all is, but from the sounds of it, it might not hurt to cautiously try to reach out to Acramon once Mogroga returns to us. Until then, all we can do is keep a watch over our shoulders.
That was also my idea, but it's harder for me to just calmly wait it out when my friend V is in danger. The princess, I mean. Especially with the entire Feywild at stake. But otherwise, I agree. The first step is seeing what we can extract from Acramon, and perhaps whoever that doll-masked tiefling girl is.
Speaking of which, Tarth, do you think that masked tiefling girl could be Eve?
Tarth shook his head while taking an exhausted drag from his pipe.
Baba Yaga told me that Eve is a Harengon, whereas this doll-masked lady is a tiefling. But that girl did seem clearly inoculated by Zugg'Tmoy in a similar way that I am. So I'm not really sure what to make of that.
You earlier said that Yaga told you before that aside from yourself, only 1.5 survived the Golden Apple experimentations. Perhaps this tiefling girl could be that strange half reference.
From the sounds of things in Tarth's prophecy, it seems Acramon and that doll mask girl are most likely aligned with the Mycorgi.
Mimith chimed in as Thotham reaffirmed her point.
I recall Tarth's father had mentioned meeting a helpful blue tiefling doctor that filled him in on how the network works. So that's 2 pieces of evidence to keep in mind before reaching out to him.
Right, we previously weren't sure to what extent Acramon was aware or involved in what happened to Zombu, other than him researching the twisted Cordies. Either he was helping the Empire trying to numb us into being complicit soldiers, like his contract we found implied, or he was secretly helping Zugg'Tmoy backstab the Empire, or something like that. I don't know, but the latter is looking more likely now.
I really want to emphasize that just because the shitty government and the weird mommy lady and the stupid stick lady are all beefing with and using each other, that doesn't automatically make any of them our ally.
This is such an intricate web of relationships, one that we're already an insect being preyed on by. All I know is bargaining with oppressors should be a temporary arrangement at most. I would not wish any of you to experience the jaws of Fenrir like I had to.
You and Gribble speak some truth, but I'd like to state for the record that I think there is a clear difference between Zugg'Tmoy and Baba Yaga. The Makorji Queen doesn't take pleasure in the bloodshed, whereas Baba Yaga enjoys inflicting despair and cruelly toying with others. She is using the Empire to meet those sick ends. I feel that the prophecy insinuated that we will need to align with the Makorji. Maybe I am being too optimistic, but I'd like to think there's a chance, however small, that we could reason with the Greater Mother. It doesn't hurt to at least try.
Tawidi and Gribble gave deeply skeptical glances towards each other, but kept their little champion mouths quiet to keep observing, as Thotham stroked his beard deep in thought.
I get your desire, but our party has its name to live up to. At the very least, I think all are on the same page that we all want to help save your friend in the Feywild. But as a friend, I'm also just a little worried about you, Tarth. Not knowing what it means if you become Adam, and if this might all be leading up to that.
Once again, folks, not enough is known to solve anything right now. Let's just take one step at a time. We agree to cautiously contact Akramon as soon as Mogroga returns to us. That's it. That's all we can say and do right now. In the meantime, we have a mission to get ready for and coin to earn.
Not so fast, Luxy-Lux. I too has beef with Tati here. Hey, Rabbit Man, why did you take my horse while I was gone?
To summarize, Tawidi has a hero complex when it comes to animals. She got Bad Boy the horse comfortable enough with her to learn his real name, Licorice. Tarth and Tawidi had a speak with animals standoff, and to no one's surprise, Tawidi's cuteness won out. That is even despite Lux trying to reason with Tawidi that poor Uncle Claude might also be sad if his sister Clarabelle's horse doesn't return. That comment made the DM pause and notate a timestamp here on YouTube. But anyway, moving on. Tawidi did agree that if, and when Clarabelle arrives, that she would then leave it up to Licorice to decide who he wishes to be the loyal steed of.
Okay, Gribble, the exchange is done. You helped me on my quest, and Licorice is back in my care. I need to get back before Rixie and Uncle Go-Go kill each other. I shall see you later. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank fucking God! I hate horses! Good job, Tawidi! See you later! Ugh, now I need a nap from all that annoying chasing around we did.
It seems like once again Our Lady of Luck has favored you, Master Gribble. You're safely back with your friends, the horse is gone, you're getting stronger and, dare I say, more draconic by the day. Blessed be Dea's will,
said Renrev, the immortal right hand to the goddess Deatrice, whose essence possesses Gribble's mini-mechanical dragon homunculus. Renrev tried to massage the knots out of Gribble's tired shoulders a bit like a kneading cat, only for them both to suddenly be lifted airborne, clamoring frantically as Thotham brought Gribble up to meet his Goliath eyes.
Hey, what the hell? Put me down! Put me down this instant!
Playtime with your little buddy is over. Time to get back to work.
And thus, the Fallen's Fellowship set out to begin their next mission. Our party needs to solve the cause of a mysterious illness that has been prematurely ending the lives of residents within a small, elderly retirement village called Zerk, in order to provide the requester, Isabella, closure as to how her mother, Irayeza, died. This task is being overseen by a fixer who has added her own money to the reward pool, and will be evaluating your performance to see if she will want to hire you once you reach the next rank within the Adventurers Guild. The fixer, a middle-aged tabaxi woman named Mariah Shredguard. A few in the party recognize the name from Panlore. The wizard-turned-ostrich had mentioned that he and Kirasavu's Grand Chancellor, Osiris, have a bit of bad blood between them. That's because Panlore refused to endorse his election against former Grand Chancellor Mariah Shredguard. She narrowly lost her election for not successfully taking down the infamous Bleeding Silks gang.
So after all that, may I ask what made you take up being a fixer of all things?
You see, I have a passion project from my days as a chancellor that I can't let go of. I can't bring myself to retire until I see it through to the end.
Can you tell us anything more about this passion project?
I'll tell you, if and when I hire you. While I have heard excellent things so far from Morrigan about you all, I quite prefer to make my own opinions.
And now, back to the mission at hand. So far, the Fallen's Fellowship has ruled out the requester, Isabella, from being a culprit. Don't you think it'd be a bit too cringy to pull a Faisal on you guys twice in a row? Likewise, after a paranoid escapade down a well, the Fallen's Fellowship canonically ruled out the drinking water as the vector of illness. Plus, the player party knows the illness is definitely coming from the inside. So far, the Fallen's Fellowship has met the following residents. Number 1, Bruce, the hunchbacked jazz musician who was elected as townsman. He was who Isabella suspected the most, but so far it seems there was a high level of unfortunate miscommunication between the two of them. Nurse Mortalia clarified the previous townsman's death had nothing to do with this illness. The only fact Isabella memorized correctly is that death did indeed start in the months following Bruce's election. Bruce himself has become sick before, and his most recent bout was his worst yet. Bruce requested that the Fallen's Fellowship, while here, at least pretend to care about the residents before going full martial law, pressing that they should meet with every resident and take an interest in their artisanship. Ask them questions about their trade, their family life, so to help keep them mentally sharp and feel considered in these dark times. They become more lonely, since less people visit the village due to the illness. And whereas they are all deeply against another quarantine, at least if the Fallen's Fellowship makes friends first, the elderly will more likely comply, and not begrudge them if the player party needs to crack down. Aside from that, Bruce states at least once a month he buys something from everyone's shop to try and lift their spirits. Then the Fallen's Fellowship met with Nurse Mortalia. Her name stirred some alarm in the party initially, but it turns out she's a tiefling. Derogatory implied names are an old tradition, stemming back from the days of the depraved tiefling genocide. Nowadays, tiefling families, despite their liberation, continue the trend in order to reclaim it as their own, while also making sure history doesn't forget the reality of what happened to them, and still to this day, are far from systemically liberated. Continuing this tradition carries the unfortunately needed benefit in having solidarity with first-gen tieflings, which are those who are sadly born to racist, non-tiefling families due to a newer incidence of being fiend-touched. Those non-tiefling families more often give the scornful names as a manifestation of their own prejudicial feelings towards their own children, by other tieflings carrying the tradition that helps show first gens they aren't alone. But continuing with Nurse Mortalia, question 1. Lux inquired if she had been sick before. Mortalia confirmed this, but thankfully only moderately so far. She says the worst thing this illness has given her so far is PTSD from being powerless in all the suffering throughout the village. Question 2. Thotham asked if certain racial resistances might be at play of who gets sick and doesn't. Mortalia stated that, not just with this question in particular, but every time Mortalia thought they found a pattern, some annoying outlier always seems to debunk it. The only 3 residents in town who are very notably less harmed by whatever's going around are Donnery, the beekeeping dwarf, Ewan, the tea-master dragonborn, and Sheila, the halfling knitter. Regarding the question of resistances, Sheila is the outlier, having none, while not having any known case of her catching this particular illness. Question 3. Thotham asked if anything is known to help the illness once it starts. So far, most successfully, a saline IV, bed rest, and sometimes compression to help the drop blood pressure in severe cases. But there comes a point of no return and nothing helps. Question 4. Gribble asked if there were any people or shops Nurse Mortalia avoids or suspects.
I think I would die if someone in the village was found to be deliberately hurting others. I truthfully believe all the other residents here are maybe flawed, but genuinely good people. Although, because I am unfortunately allergic to wool, I don't purchase anything from Sheila, who exclusively works with wool for her knit shop.
Question 5. Mimith asked about the details of Ireaza's death. During the interaction, Tarth succeeded in an insight check and caught on that the nurse was definitely hiding something. Mortalia had a guilty expression she fast tried to hide. While Tarth did not read Nurse Mortalia as evil, something suspicious going on here. Considering the main purpose of this mission existing is to give Isabella closure, Tarth mentioned this is a thread the party will need to return to. Up next, in the village, is Dari the Dwarven Beekeeper, one of 3 people who have never gotten sick with the delirium. She's the only shop still having a booming success despite the lessened foot traffic. When asked if there is anyone in the village she has issues with, she immediately started venting about Frank, the tabaxi fungus seller. She refuses to give him her business for how he treats Becky, the parchment seller. Donnery confronted Frank once about his shitty attitude, and he roared at her. He's the village's infamous crank. Thus, Donna will never touch his mushrooms, and she chalks that up to how she avoids being sick, not directly suspecting Frank as a cause. But she believes he brings about bad luck with his bad attitude. When asked if there was anything the party could do for her, Donnery expressed concern for Ewan, the tea seller. At the end of every market day, he buys out all her honey and claims to consume at least a jar a day. She appreciates his enthusiasm for her hard work, but worries about him developing diabetes. If the party could somehow convince him to watch out for his health, Donnery would deeply appreciate that. This task has not been done yet. Then there's Frank, tiger tabaxi fungus seller in a wheelchair. The player party's paranoia over the well water and Zugg'Tmoy carried over into this interaction, as they feared the possibility of Shambu's twisted cordies making an appearance here. Between this and Frank's ominous and secretive aura, whelp, the player party's anxiety got the best of them as symptoms of their own delirium showed itself for the first time as they were reading through Frank's fungus fun fact sheet. The following facts are real and were pulled from science-cited articles, though some claims are still being debated. Fact 1. Fungus are closer in DNA to humanoids than they are to plants. They make up a kingdom of their own. Fact 2. Fungi have an estimated 36,000 different sexes, contributing to why over 2,000 new strains are discovered every year. They are the most flexible breeders and have the most rapid evolutionary propensities of any other living thing known to man. Fact 3. The Wood Wide Web is a term used by some scientists to describe the underground mycorrhizal network that connects plant roots together. That network is made up of fungal threads called mycelium. The Wood Wide Web allows plants to share nutrients,
Water,
carbon, and other minerals and communicate through chemical signals. For example, a plant under attack from aphids can warn another nearby plant to increase its defensive response to prevent infestation from spreading, so long as they are united in the network. It's a beautiful symbiotic relationship that humanoids could learn a lot from. The Fallen's Fellowship hearts raced, and their skin fell to a cold sweat as they read this. All of them were hit with a strange, tingling pleasure that came in stark conflict with the fear their bodies otherwise felt. The strange surface belief that we're all connected. Tempted by the thoughts that my Corgi evolution could be a blessing. We're all stronger together, united by the network. Be free of this dying world. Accept the warm embrace of the Greater Mother. Unlike the rest of the party, Luthien and Tartholomew leaned into the moment, trying to discern the mechanisms of their own affliction while ensnared by it. Pushing deeper in and managing to hear another voice beyond their own internal monologue, some sort of deeper truth beyond the madness.
I made a world for us. Power and pleasure for all. You can align with me. The ends do justify the means.
Be not afraid. Please try to understand.
As the episode came to a close, and the Fallen's Fellowship returned to the natural state of Gikarin, they convened expressing how that moment really freaked them out. They all admitted to having a sudden desire to take a bath, but it thankfully subsided. Tarth recalls going through similar episodes back in the Feywild, but then having mostly come to a stop after encountering that unicorn in a spring, where he first met Princess Veronestra, triggering a realization amongst the Fallen's Fellowship.
I mean, Salzarabat is a manifestation of my spores too, and he didn't seem to go through anything just now, did you, buddy?
Salzarbad gave his same old doofy default look as Gribble glared at the spore-infested dog-mannered chest.
And I'd expect nothing less from my good boy. Anyway, despite this happening again for the first time in a long time to me, I gotta say I felt more in control this time than I did in the past.
Firstly, the wooden dog is evil. But I agree he didn't seem to get more evil during all that. Secondly, whatever happened back there is a big fat no from me. I don't care that it could be worse? I want it gone!
I think because we were getting paranoid about the twisted Cordies, that maybe left us more vulnerable,
said Mimith. The group nodded their heads to concur, but Luck seemed hung up on a different train of thought.
Between this and the prophecy, I really don't know what to make of everything. But I have a theory, Tarth. The unicorn cleansed you of something, but you never quite figured that part out, right? Things just got easier for you after that. And compared to some others, it hasn't been so bad for us either. What if...
You think the unicorn turned Rabbit Man into a vaccine?
At least to some degree, right? If Tarth's spores were cleansed of Zugg'Tmoy's influence, perhaps the Mycorgi weren't tracking Tarth, but growing from the spores he himself was shedding. Per Tarth's returned memories, those same spores in the past made Salzarbad temporarily lose his mind when Zugg'Tmoy's minions sprouted, but those factors are gone now.
Yeah, actually, if the spores I shed now are indeed mine, and since they are non-hostile, unless I choose to use them that way, that might be giving people around me a safe exposure for their immune systems to build up a defense against Zugg'Tmoy's. Wow, which is great news if so, because no mages or medics in the Feywild could manage to cure me except that unicorn, and they're practically extinct. This could be key.
Fantastic! So how do we start injecting you into people? And me first, please!
Very interesting theory. Even if it's only partially helping us right now, that's still something. But what about the other Zombu survivors, such as Towidi's group?
I assume how much of the twisted Cordies someone consumes over time also plays a role in the severity of the delirium. Plus constitution. Jarvis was in Zombu for many years and didn't get the delirium until towards the end, right? And we were only in Zombu for 4 days, though I was already infected somehow before arriving.
Right. I keep forgetting we actually met in the network first before Zombu, Mimith. But despite that, you're doing about the same as the rest of us, so stay positive.
Even though we were affected just now, this does seem promising. And hey, at least we aren't skinny dipping and trying to kill each other like some cases we saw. We can't let fear win.
And with that all aside, the player party was able to reason none of what happened had anything to do with Frank, so back to this gloomy tabaxi. The party all realized this is a man who seems to be quite misunderstood. He can talk, but it hurts when he does. He is in full body pain and used to just isolating himself. The inside of his home is a wreck. He doesn't let people in, and he seems quite secretive about the methods of how he grows his fungus as, once again, Tarth passed an insight check, but failed to persuade him to let him see it. Frank looked nervous when asked. Despite his rough demeanor from poorly managing pain, Frank purchases from everyone in town except Becky. From observing his terrible handwriting and clumsy handling of packaging his shop items, the party correctly concluded Frank doesn't buy from Becky due to likely immense hand pain. Frank has it fucking bad. Hard to clear up miscommunications with others if it hurts to talk, move, and write. And if your pain makes you sleep deprived and yelping and roaring from chronic distress, let alone the sickness in town, which has affected Frank more than anyone else still alive. And it's obvious he doesn't have family to come speak for him and help. Shit.
Would it be easier for you if we asked yes or no questions? That way you can just gently nod your head?
Gribble cutely inquired, to which Frank seemed to appreciate the gesture, though it was still clearly painful on his neck and not much was extracted anyhow. The last person interviewed from where we left off was Becky the human parchment seller. Becky indirectly purchases from Frank. She's actually a bit fearful of him. So she asks townsman Bruce to buy mushrooms for her from him. She loves his mushrooms and personally attests to feeling better on his mushroom health blend. Becky purchases from everyone in town, although she herself does not drink Ewan's teas. She prefers coffee, so she simply ships a tea canister out to her daughter in the chilly lands of Thaldorn on a monthly basis, said daughter being single and ready to mingle, specifically with Thotham. Galika informed Becky of a rumor that the northern thriller bear killer was sent to Kirasavu for a criminal sentence, jokingly telling her mom she needs to somehow secure an autograph and ideally get them hitched together. While Galika was half kidding, Becky showed the Fallen's Fellowship all of the bear killer merch her daughter sends to her from up north, including an album of Northern Tavern songs. That the first track on the list is dedicated to Thotham's heroic legend and unfortunate marred ending, where he becomes a women-threatening domestic terrorist. Thotham managed to dodge giving too many details in front of Becky, simply reassuring.
Yes, you can have my autograph. I didn't realize I became that popular. I'm not the one profiting from this Northern Thriller merch. But anywho, yes, I am also single. When I eventually swing back up north, I'll consider saying hello to Galika. And the only things that should fear me are bad guys and bears.
Thotham, warmly living up to his clan-awarded title here. We interrupt this program with some breaking news about the legendary bear killer. Thotham's Tavern song should be in the OST playlist by the time this summary is uploaded. Likewise, Thotham's Origins video containing his complete backstory is also up. It's the video listed underneath this one in the summaries playlist. It's the longest player backstory in the group, but the DM put blood, sweat, and tears into the video. And like everybody's backstories, it will directly affect the campaign regardless of the character's living status. Everyone will get their own Origins video eventually, which will have summary updates of all the in-game details you might have missed or forgotten that directly relates to your backstory, all in one convenient place. It will also better depict backstory NPCs' personalities, since they didn't exist too much until after our game began. Stay tuned for updates. Back to our regularly scheduled program. As for what the Fallen's Fellowship could do to help Becky the parchment seller, well, she was dealing with a nasty wasp infestation. Surely our heroes who survived a mass murder cultist event, confronted and escaped a horde of undead, infiltrated an armed fortress of mercenaries under the command of a dysregulated prodigy teen wizard, and single-handedly, violently dismantled a pedophile ring and cornered a pack of young, monstrous gnolls. Surely those same heroes could handle a simple wasp infestation, right?
Oh, no.
Oh dear. Well, after trying and failing to create an effective smoke trap, Gribble failed his self-imposed impulsivity check and started banging up the damn wall, tyrannically demanding the wasps get the fuck out and face his fire. I both jokingly and seriously appreciate players self-sabotaging themselves from time to time to rev up the story, whether that's Lux bowing over the slit throat of Gikarin Sliverfell on stage, Mimith deliberately giving herself a -1 to her dexterity, or now Gribble signing his life away. It's all beautiful, thank you. You see, initially, the DM had it that if things accidentally went to shit with the wasps, that just one wasp horde at a time would come out of the wall. But since they were summoned not by clumsy engineering, but a deliberate request for fucking war, that request was received and granted. They came rushing out in full force all at once, inevitably doing significant damage to Gribble and Lux. The event requiring little Mr. God's favorite to do the thing.
Dea, I love you and I need you. I'm really sorry I don't say your name enough. I'm gonna fix that, I swear. You're the best, most holy. Please don't let me die to wasps. Please come save us. Help, 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 help.
And thus, the sky turned dark as threatening clouds swirled and stole the sky. Thunder crackled and lightning burst down in a ferocious fury, zapping several hordes of wasps fucking dead, including the one actively wreaking havoc on Gribble. Instantly fucking disintegrated. Now leaving just 2 swarms behind me for the Fallen's Fellowship to pick off. And hey, with a foe so mighty they deserve to go out in style, right? Lux was feeling a bit of residual jealousy from earlier in the day, when Donnery the dwarf was complimenting Gribble's draconicness and making him all giddy. Lux, now wanting to assure Gribble's affections, favored herself, and not this beehive bimbo of a dwarf.
Time to show that little bitch who's Gribble's #1.
Lux risking her own safety just to impress the boy. Sipping some fuel in her mouth as she held up her dark metal, lit lantern, and spit a sassy stream into it, thankfully passing the DC to fire breath the remaining horde to fucking ash, and not her own face.
Wow! Fire breath! That was amazing, Lux! No one is as cool as you are! You're the best!
If only fucking Donna could hear him say that.
Wait! Sorry! I can't hear you, Lux! What was that you said?
Oh, it was nothing, sweetie. I'm just so happy you're safe after all that.
She said as she knelt beside the kiddo and gave him an empathetic look over, immediately starting to tend to the welts from the wasp stings across his precious, cute little face.
I thought that was pretty cool, Lux. Nice job.
Although that was impressive, I think you both are very impulsive.
Shit, I just realized I should have tried talking to the damn wasps first. Fuck me.
Becky and the fixer Mariah, both having watched the entire waspy rundown, eyes wide with worry. But, alas, the Fallen's fellowship was successful and in one piece, because of a god. But hey, no one knows that yet. Was it convenient timing of Mother Nature getting her freak on? Did Dea just generously give a random, impulsive brat follower a lucky roll for the hell of it? Most will never know that there is indeed more to this goblin boy than meets the eye.
Once again, Mr. Narrator, he is a dragon, not a goblin.
Please shut the fuck up and stay in the story where you belong, Renrev. Ahem, then a final splendor of the early evening blessed the scene. Rain started to drizzle on this desert region that is desperate for water. A literal miracle.
By Lady Dea's will, of course. Those were her storm clouds the young master summoned.
We know, Renrev. You're being redundant.
No, Mr. Narrator, you're the redundant one. I'm taking over now. You may retire for the rest of this summary. Thank you, though, for your hard work thus far. Bye-bye now.
Hey, you can't just take over like that.
He'll be fine. He just needs a little time out, as he's been doing this for far too long. And I haven't had screen time in a hot minute, you know. I deserve a little treat. The players need worry not, though. No fourth walls will ever be broken in the actual game's story. That would be oh so cheesy. Anywho, that is where the last game session stopped. While it's true that you all have increased your character level to 4, which, by the way, congratulations. We've all been playing together for a good bit over 2 years now in your world. Though with many unfortunate cancellations, the DM thought the campaign would be nearly done by now, but holy Dea, you all have a long, long way to go. So I hope you aren't bored of me and the story yet. That would dearly suck because you haven't seen nothing yet. But if you are bored, let the DM know so she can kill the child early before it bonds more. In the microwave you go. Assuming that is not the case, do note that your new feats won't canonically activate in the story until after you receive a long rest. You're all still at the last session's reduced hit points and reduced spell slots. For your knowledge, it's currently Sunsday evening at 4:45 p.m. You have 2 more elderly shops to visit, although they have gone inside now due to Milady Dea's miraculous rain. But after you convene with them, you all, along with the fixer, Mariah, can turn into Iraia's old home where you'll be staying till this quest is over. Once there, Gribble will need Lux's help with something. Then you will debrief, heal up, and naturally, of course, tuck in and hopefully have sweet dreams. May the cards up Milady Deatrice's sleeve help the goals of the party be achieved. Welcome back, young Master Gribble. You were missed.